All right. Hey, everyone. Chad Andrews here with Total Cyclist. More importantly, just hanging out, having a good time. And I'm with, of course, Ali Tetrick. Ali, in these times, I got to ask, how are you? And don't give me this powder puff, fluff, whatever. Just how are you?
I'm feeling pretty grateful. I'm healthy so far. I can ride my bike still and get outside in safe distances and zones. I was in Spain a few weeks ago, so today is my 14 days of self-isolation post-Spain, and still feeling healthy and grateful for that. My family's healthy as well. Also pretty anxious. It's kind of a stressful time. So I'm glad I can still ride my bike and get rid of some of that angst.
Well, tell me a little bit about Spain. How long you were there? Who were you with? Well, I mean, you don't have to tell. What I mean is like, was it starting to go down while you were there, or?
Yeah, Italy was in lockdown by the time I arrived in Spain. I was only there 4 nights. I was there with Specialized, and we needed to leave, and they did a wonderful job in supporting us and their athletes all over the world during that time. But it was a little interesting where you're watching it all unfold, and hour by hour things are changing, and then you're like, we're leaving. And so I felt fortunate and to get home in my safe spot and be able to be in my bubble here. So that's a good thing. But yeah, things were getting crazy. And I think 2 days after I left, they weren't allowed to ride outside anymore. And they went in full lockdown mode there in Girona. So,
yeah, I heard, actually Lauren and I actually had a chat 5 days ago, I think. And she was telling me that Ben King was still there and Taylor Wiles was still there. And I was just like, wow. And I was texting Taylor back and forth. And she's like, we're coming home like now. And I'm like, God, this is insane. Because I don't know if you know, but I was in Mexico for 10 days, and I had no clue.
No problem.
I was just getting like texts like, Chad, the shit's going down, it's crazy, and you need to get home. And we were just like oblivious, because we're in the Zipolite, which is the only nude beach. There wasn't really that many nude people. There's like maybe 3, but it was the most incredible.
I mean, do you really want to see the nude people at the nude beach, though?
Well, I took some videos, and they were cropped out. I was like, nah, yeah, no, put your clothes on. But that means it's the only one in.
I have no problem with new beaches. But
I don't either, but I'm not going to be one of them. But I don't want to be that guy, that's just like, hey, can I pull out my camera and video? But I'm not going to video you, because the beach. Have you ever been to Zipolite before?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's stupid, and I've been to Mexican beaches all over, and it's like. I know you're a lot younger than I am, but it reminded me so much of like 70s. Like everybody's just chilling wearing 70s outfits, and it's got the southernmost point in Mexico, and everybody goes there and watches the sunset, and then when you go after, there's bars and restaurants, but there's only one street, and it's cobblestone. So if you're coming, the buses have to pull over to let you by, it was just like all 3 of us. We come from the 5 of us that went to Zipolite, all socio-economic colors, creeds. We are all different. We all left there like, what did I just see? What did we just see? I mean, it was just so incredible. But that being said,
sounds like I'm putting that on my to-do list for post quarantine.
bucket list. It's very. I'm not going to say the cheap word. It was very inexpensive. I mean, it's amazing.
Okay.
But that being said, I didn't have a clue what was going on. I was just like, yeah. Whatever. And then as I started getting close to the States, it was just like this, people that have been following the chat, it's just like this, it changed. It just like this overwhelming kind of like, what? And, people were texting me that have been in Mexico with us. They were like, can we go back? Of course now Mexico's, they're probably going to be next, but it was just weird. It was surreal. Surreal.
So I thought this was a happy hour. I just want to know what you're drinking. Okay. What do we got there? A beer? Wine? You
Chamay.
Can't see. Okay. Okay. Oh, and that's actually is that like a sponsor correct glass you're using?
No, it's just a gift somebody gave me, and I like drinking out of it. All right, so
But is it actually a Chamay, or are you just drinking a Budweiser out of the Chamay glass?
no, it's Peroni. Okay, well, let me ask you because many years that I've been going to Mexico, not many people know. By the way, for those of you who are just joining, I'm with Ali Tetrick, of course, former pro cyclist, now gravel king, queen, whatever, and then endurance athlete. And I'm going to say this: that you're probably an influencer now. Do you hate that?
It's starting to sink in. Yes, that might be a word.
Weird?
I would prefer not to use it, but when I have to take photos to provide content, I go, oh no, I am going to be one of those people that people are like posting on their stories making fun of me. But you know what? I love what I do. I get to ride my bike, live in an awesome place, and meet cool people. So
I'm going back to the question about Mexico, but that's a funny story because Lauren and I, when we were talking, she said, "Oh my God, when I won," and I'm gonna totally screw with it right now. When she won Get Welcome,
yeah,
I was just saying Liège, Bastogne, Liège, just to screw with her. The core jersey that she put on was didn't fit right, and when she did the podium, it came up. And she goes, that was a humbling moment. They had to crop every single picture. I was like, you rookie? Wasn't there somebody there to help you? It's like, she said, I was just so overwhelmed. I was just like, I didn't really think about it until after the fact. It was just like, wow, that just happened. But software, no clothing snafu that I think was kind of funny. But
it happened to Janet Jackson. It can happen to the best of us, right?
Has not happened to me yet. No wardrobe malfunctions are going to come from me. No. And of course, in the next race, you see me out and you're like, Chad, your fly's open right now, or something just insanely absurd.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you drinking? What's your choice? I heard you say margarita.
So, I went for margarita because it's 4:00 here. It was a little early for bourbon. So we did a Cadillac margarita. So it's just Patron Silver, Cointreau, Grand Marnier, and fresh lemons and limes from the tree in my back patio area. And then just to garnish it, I did a goo salted lime energy chew.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. But look how cool that looks. And, there's kosher salt flakes. I don't know. Apparently salt flakes are better than not salt flakes.
We go to Mexico and you'll get, it's a worm salt and it's spicy. Oh, it's so good. Ooh. It's so good. It's so good. Which goes to my question. You ready?
Yes.
Do you know the difference between tequila and mezcal?
Well, mezcal's smoky. Tequila's definitely only made in a certain province. I think it's Jalisco.
Jalisco. Very good.
But mezcal definitely has a smoky taste. Now, I don't know if mezcal is actually tequila or not. So
it's not.
Okay.
Good. You got 85% of that, which is pretty impressive. Because I'll be completely honest. I was a casual tequila drinker until I went to Mexico, and we went out in the middle of nowhere and learned about the coffee and the mezcal and looked at the plants and stuff like that. And I had a fascinating experience with it. And it's just like, do I like mezcal? No, it's like drinking dirt. But
I love mezcal margaritas with like a little jalapeno in it, like a spicy mezcal margarita. My new thing's a spicy mezcal paloma.
Can you drink more than one of those? Or wait,
I don't know.
Should you drink more than one of those?
Yes. So I know a thing or two about drinks. At one point, I bartended in college. I worked I graduated early. I don't know. I graduated in 3.5 years, and I had an injury. I played collegiate tennis, and I tore my MCL, or my meniscus. My meniscus was torn, and so I couldn't play tennis. So I was just sitting there, and I had all the credits to graduate. So I graduated, and my boyfriend at the time was still like getting his master's. I had rad roommates that were all my tennis teammates. So I was like, well, I'll just spend the next semester and live in Abilene, Texas with my friends.
Abilene, Texas.
Oh, yeah. So I worked in, so what do you do with a biochemistry degree when you're waiting for like 3 or 4 months? I did fine dining. And then I realized like you only get like 2 or 3 tables a night, and they pay you like $2 an hour because your tip's supposed to make minimum wage. And I made decent money, but every once in a while, one of those like fancy tables like stiffs you. And then every night we would like every Tuesday we'd go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and Wing Tuesday, like 50-cent wings or whatever. And I'm looking at the waiters and the bartenders there. I'm like, the bills are really small, but they're turning a lot of customers. I'm like, how much do you guys make a night? And they're like, oh, about $300, $400. I was like, I'm going to be a bartender at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Did you do
So
it?
I did that for like 2 months. My parents thought I was still working at fine dining.
Okay, what percentage of the people out there know that you worked at Buffalo Wild Wing in Abilene, Texas?
I don't know. I don't know how many people are listening to this, but not very many people know that story.
Oh my God, that is good fodder right there. All right, are you a better drink maker or are you a better bicycle racer?
I make great drinks. They're pretty strong, but I ride my bike pretty strong too. So there's that.
That didn't answer my question.
I'm probably a better bicycle racer.
I was going to say, you better say bike racer. There's a lot of people out there counting on this. So we've answered the question about the mezcal and the tequila. All right, my next question is...
Oh, those are my tennis teammates in the background. See? Yeah, Dennis right there.
Oh, yeah. There you are.
Well, I just saw my tennis teammates, yeah. So, yeah, what I did, I learned the Jalisco and tequila item of information because I was at the Pan American Games in Guadalajara, Mexico. And there weren't a great many places to ride, but we just rode with other countries that were local. We had police escorts, and we were basically riding on freeways. The days we were there preparing for the Pan American Games. And I saw signs to Jalisco, so I was taking photos. And then I had a really bad crash actually there, and subsequently did some tequila tasting after. And I learned all about it. So, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to remember some of that.
Oh, so you got a concussion?
Yeah, I did.
How many have you had?
One traumatic brain injury for sure. Before that, probably a couple concussions, and since that, definitely a few. So I'm probably up to 8 or 9.
Oh my God. Well, you know
but
what?
I think it's, I know it does. I went to graduate school for this. I just have a more fragile brain now too, though. So, a lot of times people go, "Oh, did you break your helmet?" Or, do you have a headache? Can you see straight? Now I'm like, no. There's so many symptoms that are totally just subjective in a way.
Right.
And you can still get a concussion and not break your helmet. And helmets save your life. So yes, always wear a helmet, but it doesn't necessarily protect your head from a concussion.
I'm glad we went down this route. And if you don't mind talking about it a little bit, because I remember the story about you having, the traumatic injury and some time off. And, I myself have unfortunately been through some really bad crashes. The irony behind this is that when I first started racing bikes, here's a story that some people know, some people don't. Back at the district, we called it the district championships 20-something years ago. Me and my team, we had really strong team back then. We were just Cat 1-2s racing, and the first day we were doing the category racing, and the second day we were doing the masters racing, because at the time I think I was like 35 or something, just turned 35. So I upgraded. The first race, the first day, it was extremely hot, and I remember, and I don't race well. I've never raced well in the hot. It was like 100 degrees. Temperature on the ground was. They decided to have it in the hottest part of America, which is Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's freaking hot. I crashed because there was
Fayetteville, North Carolina. There's a Fayetteville, North Carolina, and a Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Yeah, Fayetteville is where Fort Bragg is, North Carolina.
Okay.
So it was Pinehurst, actually, which is near Fayetteville. Hot. Rolling hills, hot as hell. And my teammate, there was a field split. And my teammate, as soon as the field split happened, and this talk is about you, not me, but we're going there with the concussions. The field split, I heard Gordon say, "I got a flat." I raised my hand to go back to him, and some guy wasn't paying attention, and he was accelerating to get across to the separation and hit me so hard from behind. I was laying on the ground. I remember 2 officials on motos looking down at me. Gordon, who was the guy that we were tagging to win the race, looked down at me and goes, All I remember is him asking, "Am I okay?" I said, "I'm okay. Go." I had headaches. It was just the rest of the day was shitty. Guess what I did the next day? I raced the Masters 35 plus. We were going down this hill to a right-hand turn. Guess what Chad did? Went straight. Got crashed again. Hit so hard that I go into the feed zone. Don't remember jack crap. Half of my helmet was gone. And the girl that was feeding me, she was Canadian. She goes, "Chad, you know that half of your helmet's gone." I was like, "Huh?" So those things, back then, we were just like, "Oh, just go, it's like a dinger or stinger or whatever, go race." Now, it's just like, I don't even want to know. It was just like, I don't even want to think about how many crashes I had back then that just totally annihilated me.
It's a super, well, I mean, I probably had concussions obviously before that. And I mean, I grew up on a cattle ranch and fell off my horse all the time or fell off my bicycles and, like just normal kid stuff. You always wonder about that now. But then, I mean, I had a couple bad crashes prior to my like life flight one. And, like I broke my sternum, like I just, like weird ribs, of course. And then the life flight one happened and it was at the Cascade Cycling Classic. And we were descending down at 45 miles an hour. And we just won the Giro, with Mara. And I'm feeling amazing. I'm like, I just got second in the prologue. I'm like sitting top 3 in GC. I'm like, oh man, this is my time to shine. I'm so fit and so Euro now. And I'm just riding along and I see the crash. And I remember watching it going, oh, that's really dumb. Why are they crashing here? We're all together, just descending at altitude though. So you are descending, like the air's a little thinner. And those Cascade, for those that don't know, I mean, they're on pretty big highways. So it's a really wide road. It's not super technical or anything. And we're just bombing down. And I'm kind of floating out and I see the crash and I go, oh, well, it's okay. I know how to do this. And I always race like this anyway in racing and relationships, which hasn't always been beneficial, but closest exit, right? Like you never see me in the middle of a pack, and you watch me as an announcer and throughout my career, but I'm always on one side or the other. I prefer to be like on the back or on the front too, to like make sure I know where everyone's going. But so yeah, I always have an exit strategy and. It's like, oh, it's okay. I'll just go left here. Maybe I have to ride in the dirt for a second. It's fine. I'll be okay. So I didn't even touch my brakes. I was not panicking. Ugh. But then, this happens in bike races, as you're saying. This girl next to me panics, just grabs a fistful of brakes. And I just remember seeing it in my peripheral vision thinking, oh no, that's not how you ride a bike. And she grabs a fistful of brakes, which means she just crashes me into my front wheel. And I go from 45 miles an hour to 0. It didn't tear my shorts, didn't break my helmet, but I was unconscious. Because I didn't slide. That's also the problem because road rash is super painful, but it's actually in some ways a good thing because the act is dissipated by the sliding. So, but if you don't slide, then basically the entire impact just goes into your body. So I shattered my pelvis and it was called a compression fracture because no blood. I could still wear the shorts, the whole kit, but it just like hit my hip and then radiated through my body. It didn't break my hip, but just like went into my pelvis, which is a ring. So as the shatter went through like that, it just cracked everything. And then I was unconscious and having seizures for 24 hours and got life flighted out. So that was pretty gnarly. I took a selfie in the helicopter though.
Do you remember doing that?
No. I had a BlackBerry back then too. Who knew BlackBerries did selfies?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then that was pretty bad. But no one really understood head injuries then. And I had a broken bone, like a very, very broken bone. So it was more focus on that. And I left the hospital that next day. My dad actually was there to watch me race. So it was really cool. Insert plug here, but I had a road ID on. And that was before. I actually remember at the start of the race, they made just the girls were making fun of me because I was on a TV commercial for road ID. They're like, "Oh, Ali, you got your road ID."
You and Bob.
Yeah, me and Bob roll, right? Oh, is it a ride or a date? Glad you have your road ID on. Just making fun of me, like you're racing. Like, why do you need your road ID? Chad, I was on the pavement, and you're in I never thought about this, but you're in a bike race, right? And it's a rolling enclosure. But when you're like unconscious on the pavement on a highway, the rolling enclosure actually leaves you.
Yeah. No, yeah, they do, for sure.
And we didn't have an ambulance with us, so then you're suddenly with a volunteer that maybe knows CPR. And then they pull out their phone to call 911 and there's no service.
Oh my God.
And I remember coming in and out of like, what is going on? And so they had to take a helicopter to actually carry me in one of those bags to get me to a landing zone, to then put me in, to then fly me to BMC Memorial, I think.
Yeah.
And my dad actually, I remember though that once the EMTs finally got there, it was like a crazy situation.
I would have been freaking out.
Once the EMTs finally got there, they go, "Oh, you have a road ID. Who do you want us to call?" And I do remember saying, "My dad." And sure enough, it says "Dad" on my road ID. And he gets there, and so he was at the hospital before I got there even, which is crazy. Wow. And he's just sitting at the finish line like, "Where's my daughter?"
Hey, take a sip. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, I like taking sips. You left me.
I'll explain to you what I just did. My really expensive studio light crapped out. So, yeah, so I got an extra light. Now, I just remember these, and I'm thinking back on it. I really want to get positive here, and I really want to get thought-provoking and have fun. But it is a necessary part of cycling, and it's great to see that there's been so much change and so much input into concussions, into brain injuries. I've actually had some people reach out to me because I was honest on, I've always been somewhat private about my life, but I figured, if I don't have very much influence, but I do have, through my race commentary and through the business, it's kind of like, people need to know this story. They need to know that shit. All right, I'm going to tell this story too. I'm at my house, obviously, right now, and I remember I had some friends over that were here to help taking care of me because my wife went down and my kids went down to Florida to visit her brother, and I couldn't go. There was just no way I could get in a car, a plane. I couldn't get anything. And I live probably 2 miles away, or no, probably about a mile and a half away from anything that's, like a grocery store or whatever. And it was a new one, so it just opened, the whole neighborhood. And I was on crutches because the last concussion I'd got, I'd torn some ligaments in my knee. I didn't know it. I went to go stand up, and the EMS guy was like, "Hey, your knee." And I was like, "No, I'm not worried about my knee. I'm worried about my brain. I know I've got a concussion." And then, boom, I hit the deck. So I was in a brace, and I was being a dick. I mean, I was being mean. I was being hateful. I was craving sushi. And anybody that knows me, I don't eat fish. So I was like, you know what? The heck with you guys. I'm going to the grocery store. So I walked out my back door. And if I could show you a video of my back door, I've got a fence. And then bushes and trees. And all sorts of crap that there's no way I'm going to get in a concussed state with a crutches and a torn leg through. By God, I was. And I got about, 200 meters away, and my neighbor, who, God bless him, I've got the best neighbors in the world. One of them is Vietnamese. He goes, "Hey man, what are you doing?" I was like, "Huh?" I was like, "I'm going to the grocery store." And he comes over to my house and he goes, "Your husband?" No, your friend, because my wife wasn't here. He goes, "He's trying to walk to the grocery store." And I just look back on that and I go, holy crap, what was I doing? And I started taking it more serious, after that, yeah. I just had to.
Well, yeah, and as a coach and what you do, it's important to take it seriously. I actually, the Pan American Games crash, which makes me know Jalisco, Mexico, but also that crash was the most benign crash, but it was 10 months after, 10 to 11 months after the traumatic brain injury. And I was flying, of course, like broken pelvis, super focused. I'm on the Olympic long team. I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to go win the Pan American Games and prove my worth in 2011, and it's just a fluke endo crash. It's dark. before the time trial, and I'm just riding around a roundabout, and the storm grade, of course, is going like the perfect parallel direction of your tires, you know, and my just front tire goes into the perfect like width of the thing, and I just endo at, I don't know, 13 to 18 miles an hour or something like that, like not super fast, just endo warming up, checking out my gearing on my bike.
They're the worst.
And but I just land straight on my head. And that is, so you said you were being a dick, but that is actually what the USOC doctors told, well, in different terms for a woman. Mm-hmm. They used that I was being like not super grumpy. Nice, because they go, yeah, I was being, let's say, grumpy. And because then they go, well, maybe you shouldn't race. Like, you've had a concussion. And I'm like, well, no, I'm going to race. And I do a 15K. Oh, your studio light is back. Nice.
My wife was being sweet. She turned it off. But I was like, no, the other one burned out. Can you turn it on? But anyway, I'm sorry. So. No,
it's good. And so then I ended up racing, and I missed like 3 turns in a 15K, or like it was like a 15 or 20K. It was a 20K TT. And I missed 3 turns, and there was only 3 turns, right?
So you were 100% off.
And I got 5th, still missing turns. And I remember in the radio, he's just like yelling at me, like, "Where are you going?" I'm just like,
I don't know. Cramps. I'm going to the finish line. Maybe, I'm not sure. I don't know.
And it's funny in doping culture nowadays. Like, I think I'm up to 2nd already.
Stay with it. You might end up winning. All right, let's switch gears, because we've talked. There's enough bad stuff going on this earth, and you and I are both nutty as it is. We don't need to be talking about why we got nutty or how we got nutty. Why 200-mile gravel races? Why?
Like, Chad, literally, I to say I just was done with road racing. Like, with the injuries I'd been through and things like that, I had a blast. I traveled and lived all over the world. I stood on the podium, the UCI World Road Championships. I won races in Belgium and Argentina, all over the U.S., and went to the Pan American Games, was on the national team. We won the Giro, and you just think, yes, I wish the only thing I didn't do is go to the Olympics, you know. And other than that, I just sat there and I kept doing it because somebody would sign me every year, and it's cool, and you get in the routine like we all do, you know. Like you go, oh, this is my I don't know, divot or whatever that like I'm gonna keep cruising down. But then I also I went to graduate school to major or get a PhD in neuropsychology because that was super fascinating to me. I have a biochemistry background like we discussed, and I always have had a career outside of cycling anyway. So cycling to me wasn't my life. And to stay positive, what my injury did teach me was to separate my identity as just like a cyclist as something so much more. So I became very less results driven, which actually made me get more results than I'd ever achieved because I wasn't as attached to results for identity reasons. And I also, though, became very risk adverse because I didn't want to go back to those dark places where I'm on crutches hobbling to get sushi from my local grocery store.
That's 2 miles away through trees and a fence.
Yeah, like I didn't want to go back to being depressed and not being healthy and go back to living like a nun and focusing on the Pan American Games and thinking I can't enjoy life like as well as riding my bike.
No offense, Catholics. No offense.
Sorry.
I'm Catholic. But I said it. It's a joke. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, no, I only did that a couple of times. Don't get me wrong. Like I can only do that for about 6 weeks, maybe. Okay, no, I'll be honest, like 4 days. Anyway, but like I just didn't, and like I just wasn't finding anything really that inspiring with what I was doing. And I was also becoming more and more risk adverse just because I'm racing in Belgium with a bunch of manure. It's raining, it's freezing. I am terrified, and I just saw a girl crash into a light pole. And it might be the Tour of Flanders. That's really rad, but I've done it. Like, I know these turns. This is great, but, you know, and then once I realized I didn't have that zest anymore, I thought, there are so many women that could have this position and do what I'm doing. Like, there are women that can fill this role. I don't need to do that. But I live in Petaluma, California currently. And for those that don't know, it's Sonoma County, so I'm about 45 miles north of San Francisco. More dairy country than wine country, but I'm quite close to wine country. And Petaluma is a town of 59,000 people, and in this town there are 2 Dirty Kanza winners. And so Yuri Oswald, who's actually my goose sponsor, he lives here, and he was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I like train with him, and his wife like does NorCal mountain bike leagues. Vanessa's so rad. And they're like, awesome. Go shred some dirt. And I'm like, dirt's terrifying. So Chad, like, I like don't.
Oh, so you didn't even ride a mountain bike or anything? You were just straight.
No, I don't own a mountain bike. I never have. Oh no.
What?
I've only ridden a mountain bike 3 times. I'm signed up for Leadville though. Anyway, this will tie it all in. So, like, and then Rebecca Rush would come out here and stuff, you know, and ride with Yuri, and they're buddies, and they're like, your life looks boring. Like, why don't you just come, like, ride gravel with us? And I'm, like, looking at DK, and I'm thinking, Dirty Kanza, you know, that, and I'm going, that looks fun. So in 2017, I'm still riding for Silence Pro Cycling, it's a UCI Women's World Tour team. I do all the big races. I race the Amgen Tour of California. And then a week later, I go to Dirty Kanza, and I tell them, I go, I'm retiring. And they go, no. Like, can you race 1 more year? And I go, okay, on one condition, I can race Dirty Kanza. And they're like, that's horrible for road training. I was
actually,
like, correct.
It's not.
But I will do it. And so they go, okay. And then, of course, they put, you know, my director is amazing, but he was just like going, you're going to be so tired after that. Mm-hmm. I go, yeah. No, the road racing was great training for Dirty Kanza.
You go on the backside of Kanza. What was your TSS during that race? Do you remember?
Oh, something. Oh, it's so insane. I don't remember.
Something stupid, I'm sure. Anyway.
I basically averaged like almost 220 normalized power for 11 hours and 40 minutes and 41 seconds. I have the course record from that year. I was fast. It's almost like I was almost 20 miles an hour average. It was like 19 or 8. I think it was about 19 for 206 miles.
I forgot the 6.
With still 206 miles was still almost like 11,000 and change feet of climbing.
Yeah, nobody thinks Kansas has hills. It's got rollers.
It was crazy. So I actually, though, I just talked to Christy Moan yesterday, and she's part of the team that runs Dirty Kanza, and I just showed up, and I was a complete roadie. Like, there used to be they were doing construction on my favorite climb out here on Sonoma Mountain, and they were going to chip seal it, so they ripped up the pavement, and it was gravel. This was before gravel was cool, you know. And I used to get off my bike and walk that section because I was like, oh no,
I can't ride that.
Like road bikes can't ride on that. Like, what if I get a flat tire?
Don't want to ruin these $80 tires.
Yeah, like I can't afford this, you know. And then I did DK, and I honestly loved it and hated it. But what I loved the most was not operating on a pedestal, not like doing a race. And I won a lot of criteriums and I won a lot of road races, but like this thing, I can just start with all my friends and people I want to beat and people I know will beat me, or, you know, people maybe that aren't my friends. But like, you just start with like this huge crowd of people, and it's really shouldn't be about your result. It's just about accomplishing the day and challenging yourself. And then it matters how you do, but it doesn't really, because then you just can drink some beers and eat burritos or whatever after, and cheer on all your friends. And so I had a blast. And once I did DK, I mean, I'm out there till 2 a.m. cheering on all these finishers. People are having just so much fun supporting each other. I'm on the bar top at the local pub in town, and I'm going, okay, this is actually what I should be doing. It's just riding my bike all day as hard as I can, whatever that means on any given day, and enjoying it. And so, yeah. And then the next morning I woke up and I was so hungover, tired, like bike hungover, not from alcohol, but like bike hungover, tired. And I was so exhausted. And I thought,
this is nice.
I've raced my bike professionally for 9 years. And this is the first time I have ever felt this type of fatigue. And then I got hooked. I was like, I want to feel that way again. Like, I want to feel tired like this. This is amazing.
Isn't it a really interesting feeling to have that, like, oh my God, I am so wrecked. And that's what these events are all about. Mountain bike racing, endurance, like 12-hour races. I've done team events, and they're just like, they're so different. The people are different. Not that because I love doing, I'll be honest with you, I love doing commentary for crits, road races. I've done BMX Worlds, I've done para, I've done it all. But there's something about the whole mountain bike / I'm a little fearful of gravel.
Which is now turning into what gravel is.
I'm a little fearful of the way gravel's going. I hope it still stays like how dirty Kanza. I hope it doesn't like Asheville, North Carolina was 15 years ago. I love Asheville 15 years ago. What it currently is just more like not what Asheville used to be to me. And that's the way I hope that the gravel racing goes. Let's switch because I know that I've taken a lot of your time and I certainly appreciate it. Tell me what you are doing now, because I have to ask this question because this is why I started this live series, because I wanted to reach out to people. I wanted to ask them about their thoughts and their feelings and how they're coping and dealing and their family members with the crisis that we have going on.
Yeah, it's been a tough time. Like, I mean, as you know, my family's all very healthy, and everyone has different circumstances in my family. My mom's a little immune compromised currently because she's going through some chemo type stuff. So I worry about her, and I can't go see her. And I don't know, this might resonate with some people, but in my injuries and setbacks I've had throughout my career, I had this really wise family friend of mine tell me this too is a gift, and like, what can you do with this time? And so I started making lists so I don't feel sorry for myself, and making lists of things I can do right now, and then lists that I can accomplish later. Like, now I want to go to Mexico, but like, yeah, but like, what can you control right now? We can only control so much. But I also just get pretty bummed that if I'm not racing and traveling to all these gravel events that I'm contracted to do, of course it hurts me financially, which is hard. And you try to pivot, which you're doing, and rally and figure out, check in on people and create a virtual community if we can't see each other.
Like this.
But I go, okay, I'm at home for 2 weeks. This is great. What am I going to do? I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay my bills. Like, I actually can check my mail. I can get shipments that I'm actually home. And then I thought, maybe I should go to a concert. No, can't do that. Can't go to a movie. It's just like, I don't know what to do. So I started making lists of things I can do, which this is awesome to connect with this community. And then I'm doing snail mail cards to friends and family.
Oh my God, that's so great. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I try to write one a day at least.
I think of that. That's such a great idea. Maybe I'll get my girls to do that.
Yeah. It's super nice. And trying to write more and just be more creative. But sometimes that's very lonely in this time. Calls like this make me more enthusiastic and positive, and then, creates like a little bit of a energizer, because that's what we kind of need right now. And it's scary. And frankly, I'm a contractor employee for most of my vocations. And it's not a good time for that. So that stresses me out, and I lose sleep.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. So what does, and I've asked this, I wish I could have asked Tim Johnson last night. Actually, Tim and I had a meeting last night where he was going to come on live, but we had such an introspective conversation that we decided not to do the live show. It was just because we both felt like it wasn't a great time for either one of us. So I think that's where I think a lot of us are. In the endurance sports community, we're very, very close and we're very tight. Regardless of whether you know somebody, let's say if it's somebody that just comes up in racing and we don't know them, we always feel their pain if they get sick or they get injured or they get hurt. And in this situation, I think, Ali, it's kind of brought like The community steps up. You truly find out in the endurance community, if you put all the competition aside, you put, everything aside, when the rubber meets the pavement, we all are going to suffer through this. Whether it's multi-billion-dollar companies that are going to have to lay off, to me and my small company, where I'm still trying to keep people on payroll, but we don't have our camps now. The training center's not open. So I'm just doing virtual classes, for my clients and doing this kind of stuff at night, because I was like, you know what? If there's nothing I can do except do what I can do. And what I can do is hopefully be a part and embrace this community that we have that's been, part of my life for the better part of 30 years.
Yeah, and I've used that advice as a road racer, as you know, but I used to be a time trialist, which actually works really well for gravel. It's like I was training for it my whole life, like not drafting, high like rolling resistance, like power, but control your controllables. And it doesn't make a ton of sense, but I just think it's important for us to stay mentally healthy and check on each other as well, and control what you can. And sometimes that might mean silencing the noise, because there's a lot of anxiety on social media and everything right now too. So it's like control what you can and be as healthy as you can. Wash your hands, stay isolated, ride by yourself. All these things, of course, but just like you check your tire pressure and what tires and bike you want to like ride for a race or an event. I mean, it's the same thing like this. Like you just have to do what you can and then let the rest go. Like, insert little Frozen theme music in there, like let it go. Because like, what can you do? But I do like the list. I think you gotta just, for most of the people listening to this probably too are, I'm gonna say type A, but like just maybe let's say like just very driven and into a goal and a plan. And it's very hard when every 24 hours the news cycle changes what your plans and what you can control. And so support each other and check in. Like virtually is great. I mean, I have more FaceTime happy hours with all my friends than ever.
Yep. I'm getting ready to have a happy hour with a lot of my staff and friends after this.
Yeah.
Well, Les and Ali, how can everybody follow you? I know you probably got a lot of followers they're checking in with the live stream, but how can we follow your adventures in doing the gravel events and being an influencer in the industry?
Oh, influencer! You use the word again. So my handles are at AM Tetrick, AMTETRICK, and that's both for Twitter and Instagram. And on Facebook, you can find me. It's Alison M. Tetrick, because I'm, middle name. Need that.
Right.
I don't know why I did the M. Well, actually, I do, but that's a whole. Well, maybe I'll tell you that story. I lost my screen name, so then I had a Tetrick, and I lost it because there was a bad marriage somewhere in there, and so when I went back to get it, I had to do AM Tetrick.
Is that what the M is for? I'll be damned. Well, learn something new every day.
Yeah. So people are like, you must really love your middle name. I'm like,
yeah.
I do. It's my grandma's middle name, and I love.
Well, what is it? I mean, now that you've got us curious, what is it?
Murray.
Mary?
Murray.
Murray. Your grandma's name was Murray?
No, Marie.
Oh, Marie. Murray. I think you said Murray. I was like, it sounds like a 1970s.
Murray would be kind of cool, actually.
Well, now.
But no.
Well, listen, Ali, I can't thank you enough for joining the live stream. Everybody's going to, everybody will be jumping on board and following. And for those of you that are watching now, I'm going to stop the stream so I can follow up with Ali. But thanks a lot, Ali, for jumping in.
No, and Chad, before you cut off, thank you for what you're doing, and you're uniting our community in a positive way, and that's what we need to do right now. So we just need to be kind and mindful and support each other, and mental health and all of that, even if we can't hug and ride together and see each other at start lines and finish lines. So thank you for what you're doing.
Well, I'm going to take this offline. I'm going to convince her she needs a coach for Kanza. I mean, for Breck Epic or whatever she's doing. All right, later, guys. See you tomorrow.